A friend who once worked at the Provincial Department of Transportation said that according to surveillance and dashcam footage in the pronunciation of 40 car accident scenes, there is always inexplicable fluctuation or light and shadow recorded at the moment of the accident. Today's story is also related to this phenomenon. In early May, there was continuous thunder and rain in the area. At noon on the 9th, he and his colleague were going to a client's company for a discussion after having lunch. When they were about halfway there, around 2:30, suddenly, just as we always look ahead when driving, he could see nothing. The surroundings were filled with thick white smoke. When the colleague woke up, he was also confused and asked what had happened. After a brief explanation, they thought they couldn't just stop on the highway, so they turned on the hazard lights and moved forward slowly at about 7 miles per hour. They were in this state for about 8 minutes, still surrounded by the thick smoke. Both of them were sweating nervously, but had to grit their teeth and move forward slowly. Then at this time, they heard the sound of a horse neighing ahead, and then they saw a carriage looming in the smoke ahead, an ancient carriage pulling a kind of sedan chair at the back. The curtain of the sedan chair was not fully hung down. Part of it tied on both sides of the sedan door. Fu and his colleagues saw a man and a woman sitting inside, but their faces were covered by the curtain, and only their bodies could be seen. One was wearing red clothes, the other was wearing yellow clothes. Fu immediately took out his mobile phone to take a picture. After taking the picture and checking the time, he realized they had been in the smoke for about 20 minutes and felt increasingly scared. The moment the carriage completely disappeared, suddenly there were so many horn sounds from behind, like many people honking during a traffic jam, and the two also returned to the normal highway at this moment. When they came to their senses, they realized that their car had tilted to a 45-degree angle on the highway, almost lying across it. Then Sio immediately corrected the direction. Of course, this matter still needed to be dealt with. The two did not exchange a single word in the car until they got off the highway. Zium parked the car on the side of the road and let his colleague see what had just been filmed on the mobile phone. The result was that the phone showed their normal highway environment with no smoke, no carriage, and no man and woman sitting in the carriage. Both of them broke out in a cold sweat, even though the air conditioning in the car was quite low, but still could not stop the sweat. Later, they gritted their teeth and finished the task. The two returned to the company by County Road, and afterwards felt like no discomfort, just an extreme fatigue, like the kind of exhaustion after strenuous exercise. But this really subverted the worldview of the two people. Fortunately, everyone was fine, and they did not delve into it. But Structure's colleague started to have a fever the next day, and the fever reached more than 40 degrees. And it could not be reduced. At night, his colleague's father slept with him, and as a result, in the middle of the night, his colleague suddenly sat up. His eyes closed. His mouth was grinding like his teeth very hard. His father later said that he was afraid he would bite his tongue, stuffed like a towel in his mouth, and did not dare to wake him up. About half an hour later, his colleague lay down and slept. The next morning, this colleague's father called now and told him about this matter. Mate immediately drove to his colleague's house. After entering the house and seeing his colleague was lying in bed, suddenly sat up, looked at Fu with a very distorted expression, and said viciously, "Sion, you are finally here." Daily, I was stunned. At this time, his colleague's father asked Structure to help his colleague get dressed and said he wanted to take him to find a master to have a look. During this period, this colleague was staring at Sion all the time. After sending them to the car, Miao was about to go home. As a result, suddenly the whole person had no subjective consciousness, did not go home, and kept looking for alleys to turn around crazily, and did not actually answer any calls. It was not until the early morning of that day that Structure's wife realized that something was wrong, called his two brothers, and the Mercedes car could be tracked by mobile phone. They found, according to the positioning, saying that Miao looked like a fool at the time, and they didn't care what they asked. Structure didn't respond, and the brothers were afraid of something happening. So they took Ford to the police station. As soon as they arrived at the police station, Asim woke up and was stunned, asking his brother, "Oh, how am I here?"